Hey, welcome back. This is going to be mudroom part 5. In this section, I was going to talk about installing the entry door and the finishing trim after the wall was primed and painted. But I think I want to show you that process. I just got done priming the wall. I'm going to turn this around and show it to you. And I think there's some information there that's kind of valuable. And most people think they can paint, and unfortunately that is not the case. I don't think it's that they can't paint, it's they don't do all the preparation that they probably ought to do when they're priming and painting their wall. So I'm going to turn this around and show you the wall, and we're going to go over some of the painting and priming procedures that I did on this wall before we go and put our trims and doors in. Alright, so there's the wall. It's been sheetrock. You saw that video. I showed you how to tape it, and I went and put 3 more coats of finishing compound on top of that. That's all been done. I just got done priming it about 10-15 minutes ago. As it dries, it'll whiten up a little bit more. That is the primer coat, not the finished top coat. So let's talk about that spackle. Let's recap that spackle a bit. So when I did the taping, you saw me use the all-purpose spackle. It's a vinyl water-based adhesive that's in there that bonds to the tape and bonds to the wall and creates one continuous homogeneous wall surface. After I was done with the taping process, I put that away and I went to this product right here. Oh, this product down here, this is a drying compound. So basically this dries out. It doesn't set. There's no hydration in this. So as the product goes on, it dries out, and as it dries out, it hardens up. This is your finished top coats. So this is Durabond 90. It's a 90-minute set time, 9-minute working time. As it's drying, you can use a wet sponge. You can touch up your edges, and you need a very, very light sanding at the end. To do all that sanding on that wall took me maybe 3 minutes to sand that wall out. It took me much longer to clean the wall and prepare it to prime than it did to sand the wall. But I used the second 2 coats. I used the Durabond 90. This is a setting type mud compound. So what this does is when you mix this with water, hydration occurs. It's much like concrete. Hydration occurs. You get a hydration process that happens. That hydration actually sets that. It doesn't shrink quite as much, and you have a much smoother feather surface that they can finish out. So there was my initial coat for my taping, and then I went to the Durabond powder setting type. Drying compound first, setting type second, and I finished that out. So after I was done, and I sanded it, and it didn't take very much time at all, and all I really used to sand it was my sanding block. It's a sanding sponge right here. It's a fine sanding sponge that I used. They also come tapered. I didn't have a tapered one here. I had this just a square one here. It didn't take long at all. When I was done sanding it, what I went and did next is I wanted to remove all that debris off the wall. So I used the dry mop. This is the dry mop I use. It's got a new head on there. First I went over it and I took all the dust off with this dry mop, and then I got rid of the one that I used initially, and I put a second one on and I lightly dampened it, moistened it, and then I went over the wall with a damp mop and I pulled up all that debris off the wall. Most people don't do that preparation process, and what happens is you get a lot of static electricity if you're sanding, and that static electricity makes the particles stick to the wall, and when you paint you don't get a nice smooth surface. So I went and took the time to prepare the wall properly by cleaning it, vacuuming up all my material, all the debris and dust, and then I was ready to prime. Now people go to the store and they buy paint, and the paint they buy is a primer and paint all in one. And I'm not knocking that product. That product has its application, but this isn't the application for that product. If you have brand new sheetrock, you need to put a first coat primer on there. Primer, it doesn't just hide the blemishes and give you a nice clean surface. What it does is it bonds to the material. It soaks into that sheetrock, it bridges the sheetrock, and it makes a surface that the top coat can grab onto and bond to and bind to. And it's very important to get the right primer. And the primer you should use is the primer that wherever the sheetrock is made by. So this is a USG sheetrock, so I used a USG first coat primer. It's specifically designed for a first coat application over brand new sheetrock. There it is. Now the first thing people do is they just grab their stuff and off they go start painting. Take some time to read the back of the can. The manufacturers put a lot of good information back here. Surface preparation, how to prepare it, mixing your product. Don't just open the can and start applying. You need to thoroughly mix it up and reincorporate all the solids and the materials and the latex that's in there with the liquids. And then the application. The manufacturer is giving you the best application methods. Why would you not want to use those? Use those application methods and turn out to be the better product. You'll end up with a better product when you're done. So don't just ignore this information. Take a look at also safety and first aid is on here. know what to do in case something goes horribly wrong. Not much goes horribly wrong when you're painting, but if you get splashed in your eyes, you want to know how to take care of that. This is water based. Comes with a floor spout on the top. You open this up right here. There's going to be a plug on the inside. That plug and removed. You mix up your product. When you're done, put that back in, clean up the top, put that on there, and it'll stay nice and hydrated. It won't dry out. You won't get any skins on there. All right, so how are we going to apply this? Well, we're going to use a roller. You can use a sprayer or a roller. I like to use a roller. Just a regular roller cage right here, 9-inch roller cage. So you have to get a roller. So you can go and get a cover for this roller, and there's a lot of choices. So this one is, first of all, you have to know what size roller you want. This is a 9-inch roller cover that goes on that cage, and it's got a 3/8 pile. So the pile means the nap, how thick the material is. So let's take this. This is the one I've actually used. I took the time to clean that up. Most rollers now have a polycarbonate or plastic insert inside of here, so they can be reused. If you're going to use it heavily, I would discard it and buy a new one. But this one, since I only had a little bit of primer to do and I can use it for a second coat, I went ahead and cleaned that up. So the pile is the nap, how thick the snap is. And there's low nap, medium nap, and high nap or heavy nap. It depends on how thick or rough your surface is. This is a smooth wall, it's a slicked out wall, so I didn't need a heavy nap roller, so I have a 3/8 pile. That's what I used here. People take this cover and they insert it on top of their cage, and they throw their paint in their pan, and then they start painting. Well, that's probably not the best way to go. There's a couple things you got to do first. The first thing you got to do is in your roller is, once you take the roller out of the bag, don't discard the bag. Hold on to the bag. If you plan on using it again, hang on to the bag. You can keep it moist in there. If you're going to paint today and going to paint again tomorrow or later this evening, you don't need to keep using a new roller. You can reuse this roller if you take care of it and you can clean it properly. So save the bag that it comes in. When the roller comes out of the bag, take it into the sink and run it under some water and dampen it and moisten up all these piles. There's going to be frays in here that are loose, and when you start painting, those frays are going to come out into your wall, into your paint, and you're going to see all those little frays and all those little pieces of fiber in your paint job. So if you don't want that to happen, what you do is you take your roller and you dampen it. You can just run your hand down it, wipe it off, put it on your cage, spin it a few times, and get all that dampness out of there. Actually, the water in there allows the paint to soak in a little bit better anyway. Then after you put it on your cage, let me get this on here for you. So you got your roller on your cage. You're going to take your paint and you're going to dump it in your pan. Well, let's not do that either. Why don't we use a liner? So if you use a liner, you can discard this liner. They cost about $1.10, $1.39 for these liners. You get a liner for the pan that you're using, and when you're done with this liner, you can throw it away. People don't use a liner, and paint on top of paint on top of paint starts to dry inside their pan, and then they run the risk of that thickness of paint flaking off into their wet product that they're trying to apply, and you get little old dry paint flakes inside of your new paint job. So take the time, put a pan in there. When you're done, you can discard the pan. So you put your paint in your pan, and you're going to load your roller. After you load your roller, don't just hit the wall. Take a scrap piece of material, sheetrock, and run that up and down several times on a scrap piece of material. If there's any frays that are still remaining on there, you're going to get rid of those, and there's less chance that that stuff's going to get on your wall. All right, so then you've done that. You prepped your roller. You're ready to paint. So load this up. Don't overload it. Don't underload it. Just right. You're going to drag the paint out, drag the paint out, drag the paint out, roll it, blend it in, get it all blended up on your roller. And when you go to paint it on with a roller, don't just slop it on. Come over here to the wall, and when you start, you want to make the best trick to painting is keeping a wet, continuous edge. If you can keep a wet edge, you'll have a nice blend. If you look down this wall, you don't see any line. Well, it's hard to see because it's white, but you don't see any lines where the roller marks were. And the reason people get roller marks is because they don't keep a wet edge and they don't blend it out. So when I want to paint, so say I want to paint to this corner. Say this corner, this edge right here is where the last paint stopped. So I'm coming across my wall and I got to here and I ended my roller painting here. I don't just start with my next roller right here. What I do is I start out here, about a foot away from that. And I'll roll up in a V pattern and down in A pattern, A or V pattern. So I'll go up in V's and A's, and I'm blending that out. and I'll come into where that wet edge is, and I'll go past that wet edge, and then I'll work my way back out to where I started and a little bit beyond. And I'll just keep doing that over and over and over again. A's and V's up the wall. And I get to the end and I stop. When I start my next one, I don't start here. I start out over here and I work back, and then I work back out again. And I work from top to bottom. I don't want to stop halfway across my wall, because if I stop halfway across my wall, you're going to end up seeing a line. You'll end up seeing a line right in here. And you don't want that either. So you're going to run the entire length of that wall from the top to the bottom. And then when you're done, you can come back in and you can cut it in with your brush. And the brush I used was my 2-inch straight bristle Purdy synthetic fiber brush. And I took the time to go in and do all my corners after the edge, after the rolling was done, all the way across there. I did both sides of that. That's primed. And now it's ready for its top coat of paint. This is the garage. I'm not going to be putting a top coat in here, but on the inside of the mudroom I will be putting a top coat paint on there. This garage is primed. In fact, this garage is out well beyond code. In a garage, an attached garage that's touching your structure, you have to have a fire rating between your garage and your living space. And I have a 5/8 inch sheetrock 1 hour rating on that wall right there, and I have it on my ceiling as well. There's a 5/8 rating on my ceiling. And then you can't leave any open seams. If you applied your sheetrock to your ceiling to fireproof your garage, the break between your living space and your garage space, you don't want any gases, any noxious fumes coming in. So you have to tape out, at least a minimum, tape out those seams. Well, I figured if I was going to tape out the seams, I might as well just finish it out and make it look like a finished garage. So I taped all my seams, but then I didn't like the look of it, just the tape and the spackle, so I went ahead and primed the whole garage. But that's well beyond code. You don't have to do that. You do have to put a fire break, and you do have to tape the seams, but that's as far as it needs to go. There's the inside wall. That's all painted out, primed out, ready to go. I haven't picked out the color yet, but I'll pick out some kind of latex. I'll probably go with a pearl finish. There's lots of finishes and paints you can get. You can get flat, you can get pearl, you can get satin, you can get semi, you can get gloss. I don't really want a high sheen finish. I want something that's easily maintained and washable. So I'm going to go with a pearl finish probably on those walls in there. And after it's painted, I'll come back and I'll show you the doors and the trims going in. And we'll put down some type of laminate flooring in there. And we'll finish this project out. All right. Nice talking to you. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you soon. Bye.